without introduction, our Mayor Tom Giarrante was born and raised in Joliet, attended Sacred Heart Grade School, Joliet Catholic High School, Joliet Junior College, is married to Rose. Rose, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. They have 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Tom was in the barber business in the city of Joliet since 1961, was a member of the Joliet Fire Department from 1970 through 1992, and served as president of Joliet Firefighters Local 44 from 1980 through 1996. He was also a commissioner on the Joliet Park District Board from 1990 to 1997, secretary to the Police and Fire Board from 95 to 97, was elected Joliet City Councilman at Large in 1996, and served through 2011 when he was elected mayor of the city of Joliet. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podium the Honorable Tom Giarrante.
Thank you, Russ, and the Chamber for putting this together today. I really appreciate it. And also to Mark Basso, thank you for your hospitality. I believe there's 3 of these Autobahn motor clubs in the United States, but I think this is the cream of the crop, and we're happy to have you here in Joliet, believe me. You know, no matter how often I do this, I get a little nervous. So you people can help. As Russ says, I've been in the barber business for 50 years, and I'm used to talking to the people back of their heads. So if everybody would turn around and look that way, I'd be a lot more comfortable. You know, after a record-breaking era here in Joliet with residential and business between the 90s and 2007, Joliet, like other cities, experienced a screeching halt to their economy. Since then, our residents and businesses have endured a difficult struggle. While the struggle is not over, there are signs that show the City of Champions is poised to come back and reinvent itself. As your mayor, I stand before you today to announce that the City of Joliet is once again open for business, and I intend to be at the forefront in moving this city forward. I must be standing too close, you can hear me breathing. The daily operations of running a city is no different than running a household or a business. We have to be fiscally responsible. When I ran for mayor, I said that I would work with all parties to solve our budget issues. We have made some great progress over the past months, thanks to the outstanding team of our finance department, Kenny and your department, as well as the commitment by the City Council in frank, face-to-face negotiations with our labor. So let's begin with a review where we were a year ago, where we are today, and where my vision is that where we need to go. The 2011 budget was passed assuming a $13 million shortfall. Using $13 million in reserves would be needed. Another $4 million would be used at one-time capital expenditures and purchases. After taking office, I, along with the City Council, committed to fix the structural budget problem, to no longer accept the status quo of balancing operating budget with reserves and pushing the problems into the future for others to handle. In August 2011, the gap for the 2012 budget was estimated at $17 million. I proposed a plan that called for moderate tax increases and additional expenses to close the gap. Additional expense cuts to close the gap. The City Council and I reviewed each item individually and ultimately passed a 2012 budget that aligned revenues with expenses. A look back at 2011 shows that we are another year closer to attaining our long-term financial goals. We closed the year with an annual surplus of over $1 million in the general fund, $4.6 million in the sewer and water fund, and over $100,000 in the parking fund. But this did not come easy. Over the past 3 years, difficult decisions had to be made, including elimination of discretionary spending, significant reductions to the workforce, delays in union wages, and wage freezes for non-union employees. The 2012 budget continues the progress we all made and renews our commitment to better align revenues with expenses. Once again, I applaud the months of hard work by our finance department, the City Council, and those in the 6 employee unions who understood the severity of the moment and the consequences of inaction. One of the greatest influence on the city's budget is the gaming revenue. Gaming revenue we receive from our 2 world-class casinos. We do not know what the future will bring, but it's a pretty safe bet to say that we won't have the revenue we enjoyed in the past. The negative effects of Illinois' possible gaming expansion goes far beyond tax dollars. It also affects the 100 of Joliet residents who are employed in the gaming industry. Over the past 8 months, I have personally met with the governor and mayors of other casino host cities. We all told the governor we don't have a problem with the Chicago casino, but that's where it should end. And here's what we know and what we can expect to happen in Springfield this year. Negotiations have been going on between Senator Link, Representative Lang, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel to expand gaming in Illinois and Chicago. Fortunately for Joliet, Aurora, Elgin, and now Des Plaines, the governor is adamantly opposed to slots in the racetracks. Without slots at the tracks, it'll be very difficult to get 30 votes in the Senate and 60 votes in the House. One question is whether the legislative leaders and the governor can form a compromise and use an impact fee. The existing casinos would like to keep things the way they are, but they also may be okay with an impact fee if it's reasonable. They thought the last impact fee that was suggested was unreasonable. Regardless of what happens or doesn't happen in Springfield this year, we know for sure that Joliet's share of local gaming taxes will be lower. One of the keys to Joliet's long-term prosperity is creating jobs for our residents. During my campaign, I committed to being a hands-on, full-time mayor and will work to attract new businesses in the city as well as support those who have been here all along. Immediately after taking office, I established a committee to attract and retain businesses, or CARB, an advisory team made up of about 20 local business leaders, some of whom I see here today. We meet every quarter to improve communication between my office and the business community. I have learned a lot from them and I greatly value their input. In addition to creating the CARB board, we started to look at some of the biggest names in the restaurant and retail industries. My team and I, along with City Manager Tom Giarrante, have personally met with company executives and their real estate brokers in my office. We've also hosted personal tours around the city of Joliet. These relationships take time to develop, but we are moving forward, and today we are speaking with a number of firms who obviously wish to remain unnamed at this point. I assure you this, we are working to attract the level of restaurants and retail shopping our residents deserve. As mayor, I want city residents to spend their money here in Joliet, and I believe that if we give them the opportunity, this will happen. There are plenty of signs that show us that Joliet is recovering and reinventing itself, as 2011 turned out to be a year of rebuilding. We've seen a sharp increase in the amount of single-family remodeling, indicating that the foreclosure market is being remodeled and reoccupied. Last year, we issued 500 more remodeling permits than we did in 2010. New housing starts were up last year with a total of 88 new starts compared to 58 in 2010. As you may have read or heard in the local media, some of those new starts include projects in the Joliet Housing Authority. Although new commercial starts were down in 2010, we saw an increase in commercial remodeling, additions, and institutional remodeling. The commercial market is taking advantage of remodeling empty buildings like H.H. Gregg Appliance Store that took over for Circuit City. We also have a newly remodeled and very busy Red Lobster next door. There's been a lot of activity in the Westfield Lewis Joliet Mall recently with remodeling of most anchor stores including J.C. Penney, Carson's, and Sears. And I'm happy to announce that the mall is 95% occupied. Many of the Joliet's existing warehouses are being occupied or remodeled, including Central Grocers, Navistar, Toys R Us Distribution, Beckman Trucking, Interstate Warehouse, and Bergstrom Manufacturing. The vacant, uncompleted warehouse at 3401 South Chicago Street has been purchased and furnished and is waiting on a tenant. We visited that this past week, and they do have a tenant that's going to occupy half the building, so that is good news. The medical office building at 301 Madison has a new look along with continued remodeling at Provena St. Joseph Medical Center. A future dialysis clinic at 721 East Cass Street on Joliet's east side is under construction, along with the remodeling of many nearby commercial businesses on Collins Street, Chicago Street, and Richard Street. In downtown Joliet, the Red Goose Bakery has just opened at 56 North Chicago Street, specializing in soup sandwiches and cupcakes. The Jefferson Street corridor has welcomed new commercial remodeling, including Zip Fitness at Mary Crest Shopping Center, along with Darcy Volkswagen taking over the former Saturn dealership. The total number of permits were up from over 3,500 in 2010 to almost 4,000 in 2011. That's great news for the city of Joliet. The bottom line is that Joliet is running out of available commercial spaces, so we expect new construction to get started soon. One of our greatest recent job creators, has been the $2 billion Centerpoint Intermodal on the far south end of Joliet, which surrounds this facility we're in today. I think they own all, if I'm not mistaken, all the property around the Autobahn racetrack here. It is one of the busiest private developments ever in the United States, and it was proudly built by Joliet's skilled union construction workers. New to Centerpoint is Home Depot's 675,000 square foot mechanized rapid deployment center that opened earlier in the month. I was out there for the grand opening, and the building hasn't been full yet, and it was empty, and I couldn't believe how big it was. And I asked one of the engineers, I says, put this in proper perspective for me. How big is this? How many football fields can we put in here? He says 22, just to give you an idea how big this building is. It employs approximately 350 people and is the most modern RDC in the Home Depot family. And they may be adding another 150 employees soon. Also new to Centerpoint is APL, a 160-year-old company and one of the top 5 steamship lines in the world. APL provides customers around the world with container transportation services. There are 40 permanent jobs at the facility, and all mechanical, trucking, and equipment operation jobs are union. Some of America's leading restaurants